There is a big problem when it comes to the St. Louis Blues team. And at this point, I think I know what the problem is. And it's going to be something that I think we can all agree on. This is all coming up here on Locked on Blues.
You're Locked on Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked on Blues. I am your host of Locked on Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, where I talk to you all things St. Louis Blues here on the Locked On Podcast Network, available on Sirius XM, any podcasting service app that you use, and of course on YouTube. In today's episode, I am going to talk about how the Blues did lose to the Minnesota Wild last night, and this was the Wild's first game with their new coach. So obviously that kind of hurt just a little bit, more than it already does. The worst power play ever. I am so sick of this Blues power play and looking ahead, of course. And before I dive deeper in today's episode, I want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150. And if your team wins, then you win. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Last night was ugly. And you know what's actually kind of funny though? Well, not funny, like ha ha ha, this is so funny. But like, oh, Haley, you were right. I said whichever team scores first will be the team to win the game. And I truly meant that. I sincerely think that the Wild are a team that is kind of going through it, right? They got a new coach. They haven't been as good as a team as people thought they were going to be. But at the same time, and I say this every single episode I do when I'm talking about a team that may not be as good as the Blues, and on paper at least, that this is still an NHL team with NHL players. And the beautiful thing about hockey is any given team can win on any given night. So I wasn't necessarily surprised that the Blues lost. I mean, obviously, I'm very disappointed that the Blues lost, but it wasn't like a huge shock considering that the Blues previously have lost to the San Jose Sharks. But yet they beat the Avalanche, they beat the Lightning. So they're a team that is so inconsistent, and I never can predict how they're actually going to do. But last night I did say whoever scores first will be the team that wins because the Blues, they're not doing well when it comes from playing from behind. There was a stat, ESPN put it out. I forget what exactly it was. But whenever the Blues score first, I think they're the fourth or third team in the NHL, whatever, they're ranked high up in the NHL, that if they score first, they usually win the game. So they're definitely that type of team, not a team that plays from behind. Last night, though, I have to say, it was bad. It was bad. The Wild have lost 7 games in a row before, obviously, last night's game. They got a new coach. A lot is going on with this team. But yet the St. Louis Blues, they look slow on the ice. And I thought, oh, well, maybe the dad chirp, that will help them with momentum. Like anything possible I could think of could help them. I thought that the Blues playing against a team that is a little bit discombobbled right now. That's a really strange word to describe it. But a team that is not so strong right now, that the Blues would have a better chance into maybe beating them, playing better, working out some things like the power play, which I will dive into in a little bit. But no, that is not the case. 2 minutes into the game, Minnesota gets on the board, so it's 1-0. Now, I will say that when Colton Parayko scored and equalized the game at 1 apiece, assisted, by the way, by Sammy Blais and Alexei Torchenko, I was like, ooh, okay, maybe the Blues can come back a little bit. That will be cool. That, what happens. First goal. Even though on the podcast I said that whoever gets the first goal will be the team that wins. I thought maybe it was just, a bad goal in the beginning. It was a good goal, but bad goal. Unfortunately, with about a couple minutes left, the Wild scored again in that first period, giving Minnesota a 2-1 lead heading into the second period. Second period, I have to say, it was definitely more Wild dominated. Now, despite the fact that no team scored, I thought that this was a better period of hockey. I thought the Blues were holding their own. I mean, sure, you're down by a goal. just get that one equalizing goal, tie it up, and move on. Unfortunately, though, as I said, that second period remained scoreless. So then the Blues and the Wild went into the third period. And about with 2-ish minutes remaining, I want to say, Matt Boldy for the Wild was able to get them their third goal of the night, the final goal of the night. And Minnesota won 3-1. It's kind of embarrassing that the Blues find themselves in situations like the San Jose Sharks. That sucked. That was embarrassing. And now the fact that the Wild have a new coach, that sucks. It just sucks. Honestly, this whole situation is not good whatsoever. And I think that this is a real problem. Now, this is the first time that John Hines has coached, obviously, the Wild, as I have said. And the interesting thing about that, he was a former bench coach with Nashville and New Jersey, so plenty of experience, but evidently it is never a good sign when a team who just fired your coach ends up beating you after losing 7 games in a row. Like, that is not ideal whatsoever. And honestly, like, the most frustrating part about this game is he's the coach himself even said the team made it easy after the game. Usually I just listen to Coach Berube and the players of the Blues speak, but I was so mad when I'm telling you this. I was angry. I was livid because I thought to myself, Haley, there is no way this team that is this disorganized just beat us tonight. I was watching the game as one does, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I think this was worse than San Jose because San Jose, I mean, despite it being a 5-1 loss to the Sharks, this game, there was no reason for the Blues to lose. None at all. None. Absolutely nothing. And this is what I'm saying about this team. It's the inconsistency. I have talked about this before on this podcast here on Locked On Blues, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, is that this team, they will have such a great game. They're going to win. They play well. And then the following game, it's like they don't show up. And last night, I didn't see a team that showed up. And I think that's the most disappointing aspect of it is that, sure, they were on the ice for the 60 minutes, but there was very little time where they actually did, show up. Binnington was in net. He stopped 34 shots. It sucks. The Blues. Oh, and also another thing that I forgot to mention is the patheticness of that second period. So I did say that obviously the Wild had more possession. Breaking it down, the Wild had 17 shots on net on that second period, while the Blues only had 5. That's not good. Like, that is not good, okay? After the game, Robert Thomas said, we were right in it until the end, but we needed a better effort. And I disagree, actually. I don't think the Blues were in it till the end. I don't. I think when you rewatch the game, if you have to, unfortunately, or rewatch some highlights, the Wild, they had control of the game. I don't know how else to put it. I don't think the Blues had control of the game at all whatsoever. I think after the Wild went up 2-1 after that first period, it was all Minnesota. And I think that second period just shows you that, being outshot 17-5, despite nothing going in, it shows you that the Wild were able to take more, shots on net, which means they had better puck possession, which is something that the Blues are not so good of. It all kind of crumbled up. The one positive I will say is that it could have been a lot worse if Binnington wasn't in net. A lot worse because the Wild were shooting like there was no tomorrow. And I think that it was just very unfortunate for Binnington. But again, where does the problem fall down on? It falls down on that power play. And that is what I'm going to be talking about next. But before I talk about the awful, 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 awful power play, I want to let you know a new NHL season brings all sorts of possibilities. Robert Thomas could score 50 goals and the Blues could hoist the Stanley Cup. And you can win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our number one choice for daily fantasy sports and especially daily fantasy hockey because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. All you have to do is pick guys like Robert Thomas, Justin Folk, Jordan Bigginton, Joel Hofer, Shenny, whoever, you name it. And if they record more or less than their sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus, minus, and more in a given game, to win 100 times bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You hear me, Blues fans. You can win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. I'm just warning you, if you have headphones on right now, this would be a good time to lower. This would be a good time to turn down maybe the radio if you have that on in your car. It would be a good time to just adjust a little bit, okay? Okay, I warned you. This power play is atrocious. You can turn everything back on. I needed to get that out. I needed to yell about it. This is, oh, here I go with the yelling. This power play is awful. Awful, 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 awful. I cannot express, seriously, I cannot express how awful this Blues power play is. It is one of the worst things I've ever seen on the ice. It is probably the worst power play in the NHL. It is probably the worst power play in history. Well, that's being dramatic, but it is awful. This is what's holding the Blues back. There are so many opportunities when the Blues are on the power play, but it's the spacing, it's the lack of rebounds. There are so many things. And I'm like, at this point, you have the same amount of shorthanded goals as you do power play goals. Just ask the refs, ask them, ask the officials, hey, can we be shorthanded instead? Because I can guarantee you there's a better chance of the Blues getting a goal shorthanded than there is of them on the power play. And I know, Haley, you're being dramatic. No, I am not. At this point, like that is the most rational thing I can think of. I don't know what this team is doing or not doing. I don't know what they're doing when it comes to this power play. I don't know if they practice the power play. I mean, I'm sure they do, but what adjustments are they making? It is frustrating. If you're watching live right now, please leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on this power play because I am disgusted by this. It is the worst and it's only getting worse. It isn't getting better. There's no improvements. I'm not like, oh my gosh, look at this power play. It's so much better. No, it is getting worse. And that is what's concerning. If the Blues were making some progress, maybe better spatial awareness, better puck control, I would give them the benefit of the doubt. But it is getting worse and I am sickened by it. Like, I am so fumed up right now because that is how frustrating. Like, I'm sitting here. This is how I watch the Blues games, okay? If you're on YouTube, you can see me. And they're on a power play. This is a reenactment right now of when the Blues are on a power play. What are you doing? Okay, under the reenactment. But as you can tell, I'm frustrated. Who isn't frustrated? Anybody who watches this team is frustrated. And it is disgusting. You know what? I'm going to calm down because I'm not on this power play. This isn't me on the ice. This is them on the ice. But I'm a fan, so obviously I'm going to be a little bit more impacted than just an average person. Braden Shen said, quote, because the St. Louis Blues, you know what they had last night? A 4-man advantage in the middle of the third, but they couldn't get their second goal. So what did Shenny say about it? We had some looks. I had one, and Torrey Krug had one. Of course he did. You got to try to find a way to capitalize, and we didn't. Power play's been better as of late, but those are the ones you really need to go get. What? The power play's been better as late. I love you, Shenny. I do. That's my captain forever. I know number 10 for life. But, like, is it better, though, or did you just get lucky? Because it was bad. And I know Torrey Krug was really brought to this team for the power play, but like, is it? I'm just saying, like, I'm not going to say it, but I'm going to say it. What is this? seriously, what is this? Because it looks dysfunctional on ice. And I hate to be the one that's going to be all negative, like, oh my God, Haley from Locked On Blues is so negative. No, I'm just realistic. And I feel like I've scrutinized the defense enough. Okay. Been there, done that. Power play. This is the next biggest thing that is a concern. A lot of concerns about a lot of things. Power play is a big, big, big concern. I just want to let you know to score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/locked-on and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. I was getting really angry. Ooh. I know some people are watching right now, so hello to everybody that's watching live on YouTube. If you're watching again, please drop that comment, ask any of your Blues questions, because I like to do this segment called Looking Ahead, which is where I look ahead to see what the Blues are going to be doing this upcoming week and the future of the team. So if you want to ask anything, let me know, and I will be sure to get to it. Before I do, I want to let you know about BetterHelp, because I absolutely love BetterHelp. So what exactly is BetterHelp and what's going on? So this time of the year can be a lot. And it's natural to sometimes feel some sadness or anxiety about it. I know the holidays can be tough for some people, but therapy, it can be a bright spot, and it can help with your stress and all of this change, of course. And it gives you something to look forward to. Maybe it makes you feel grounded, and it gives you the tools that you need to manage everything that is going on. Personally, I think therapy is so beneficial, and it really does allow you to be in a safe space where you can talk about how you feel. You're not being judged. And with BetterHelp, I think the most important thing is, for me at least, it is entirely online. So you can be convenient in your own room if you even want it to be. So just fill out a brief survey and get matched with a licensed therapist. And you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge, which is huge. So find a bright spot this season with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNHL today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNHL. Looking ahead, things can only get better. Well, no. Oh, hell. I really try to be positive on that one. I was like, okay, maybe I'll be like a little bit more positive. I tried. But no, it really should be better. I mean, tomorrow night, the Blues, is it already the 30th tomorrow? Wow. Anyways, the Blues take on the Sabres for a 7 p.m. puck drop. You know what's funny? That's funny to me. Wow. Oh, sorry. I can't believe how fast this month is going by. Obviously, this game is going to be a close game, I think. I mean, Buffalo this season, they're 10-10-2. They're 5-5-2 away. So kind of an average team, but again, so are the Blues. For St. Louis, on the other hand, I think that this is a really good opportunity for the Blues to redeem themselves at home. I think playing in front of that home crowd is definitely something that the guys on the team radiate off of. I'm not saying that this is a reason why the Blues will win, but it definitely, it does help. I mean, the Blues need to be concerned, though, about Alex Tuch. He did have 2 goals against the Rangers, and the Sabres won 5-1. For those that don't know and don't follow up with the Metropolitan Division, the Rangers are probably the best team in the Metropolitan, and they're a very scary team and a team that concerns me, and a cup contending team. So, no, I don't feel really good about the fact that the Sabres beat them 5-1. It makes me nervous. I am nervous. I don't feel confident, but it is okay. I will be okay. This will be the first time these two teams meet this season. For those that maybe are like, okay, Haley, realistically, what do you think's going to happen with the Blues on this game? I think that hopefully the Blues will win, but I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. I think the Sabres are kind of figuring it out more than ever, and they have good players. I mean, Tage Thompson is hurt, so he's not playing, but oh my gosh, in totality, the Blues definitely have a lot of work. So doesn't stop there though. Nope, because on Saturday they take on the Coyotes in Arizona, and then the Blues head out to Vegas on Monday, and then they host the Golden Knights on Wednesday. I feel sick to my stomach because I could realistically see the Blues losing every one of these games. I'm joking, not really. I don't know. I do know. I think that my frustration at the end of the day between you, it's because of this power play. It's because of the defense. And there's a lot of things that have been frustrating to me as a fan. And I think more so than ever, it is just making me less confident within the team. I think that they're a good team. I mean, they have 23 points. Obviously, yesterday you wanted to get that 25, but it didn't happen. I want to be positive. I just think that more players need to step up. I think Jake Neighbors has done a great job. Robert Thomas, I'm always happy with. Folk, he's been performing, but some of these other guys, they need to step up. I want Shenny to do more. I need more. And is that too much to ask? I think that Berube is doing all that he can do with this team. And as I said, any negativity, it does fall on Doug Armstrong because he's the one that made all these contracts. It's awful. But Blues fans everywhere, to you listening, I sympathize with how you feel because it sucked. I put on I don't know if you can see my sweatshirt, but it's like my St. Louis Blues hockey sweatshirt, one of them. Because it was really cold outside and I was like, I need to be warm. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm disgusted with how they played last night. Whatever, I sucked it up. I love this team, okay? And I will forever love this team, no matter how good or how badly they play. I will forever wear my blue note proudly. I'm just saying. I'm allowed to be disappointed, but still love this team. And it is normal to be frustrated with the inconsistency, of course, but hopefully that will all change after maybe the trade deadline. I don't know. I can't tell you what Army's going to do because I thought this summer there would be more moves made, but there weren't. So that is that. But tomorrow will be a fun episode. Tomorrow will be a game day preview against the Buffalo Sabres, unfortunately. But it will be a more in-depth episode, and I love doing my pregame show. So that to look forward to. If you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe down below if you're on YouTube or follow if you're any podcast streaming service. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at Haley T. Simon, or you can follow at Locked On Blues. Like always, Blues fans, what do I always say before I end the episode? That is right. Let's go Blues.